Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dale Center NASCAR betting preview for the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium this weekend. It's officially race week. I cannot wait to see cars at the track. This is the beginning of the 2025 NASCAR season, and it starts at Bowman Gray Stadium in 2025. Now, look, what you see behind me is the LA Coliseum. I use iRacing for my beautiful backdrops, and Bowman Gray Stadium is not on iRacing. So this is our best track comparison, and it is the site of where NASCAR held the Clash for the last 3 years. So it looks great. It's a good track comparison. It is relevant. And if you're new here and you're new to NASCAR, yes, NASCAR did race at a football stadium for 3 years. Pretty sick. And that's kind of what the Clash has become. I feel like it's going to be an experimental race, an energy enhancer, just to get the season kick-started. And we go to stuff like this, tracks like Bowman Gray. I think that accomplishes it pretty well. So let's get right into it. But before we do, check out dubclub.win. I've teamed up with Dub Club for all of 2025 to provide you with winning NASCAR bets all year long. To see all of my NASCAR betting cards with specific unit allocations for the NASCAR Cup Series, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, click the link in the description below this video to subscribe today and see all of my bets for the 2025 NASCAR season. But the purpose of Dale Center, even if those are behind a paywall, which thank you to everybody who's subscribed. We've had a bunch of subscribers. The success has spoken for itself. But even with that, I use this platform. I use the video content to still talk about what I'm betting on. Like, you may not get the units, you may not get the specifics, but you're gonna get the guys that I like before we hit the track. And I'm gonna give you advice on where you should lean once we get through practice, we get through the heats, and set the starting lineup on Saturday night. Real quick, I'm gonna put on the screen the format for the Clash. Basically, you're gonna have 23 drivers that make the main event out of 39 that are entered. Practice, you're gonna get 3 practice sessions split into 3 different groups. And on the 3rd practice session, each driver's fastest lap will determine what heat they're in and where they're going to start. If you want to see that graphic, just look on X. Bob Pockrass has tweeted it. NASCAR has tweeted it. The NASCAR Clash account has tweeted it. It's all over the place if you want to see that graphic. Obviously, you could just pause the program to get a better look at it if you want, but it can be confusing when we don't typically have heats that set lineups in NASCAR racing. More so now than ever in the Gen 7 era, with some dirt races we've had, with North Wilkesboro or the Clash that you see behind me over the past 3 years. Heats have become a little more standard, but still not common enough for everybody to understand. So be sure you're clear on the format, and we'll get right into what I like ahead of Sunday with Joey Logano. Look, if you follow me on social media, he is the Kansas City Chiefs of NASCAR. Everybody hates him except the true dedicated riders. He wins championships in a shitty way that pisses off most people, and sometimes it just feels undeserved. When you look at the Chiefs this year, I know they're 15-2, but they look like ass almost the entire season, and they're in the Super Bowl. Joey Logano did that last year. He looked terrible all year long. Next thing you know, he's in the championship, and he wins it. So go ahead and get your Logano Clash Kansas City Chiefs parlay ready, because it's probably going to hit. And I think to combat the lameness of Joey Logano, aka Lame Gano as I like to call him, you got to recognize how good of a short track racer he is and how excellent he's been on new racetracks. Bowman Gray Stadium is a new racetrack. NASCAR has not raced here. The Cup Series has not raced here since the early 70s, which is insane to think about that we're going back now in 2025. When I look at Joey Logano, he won at Phoenix last year, which is comparable. Short, flat racetracks, or tracks that exude shorter, flatter characteristics, like a Phoenix, like a Martinsville, like a Richmond, are important to note here, just like the track behind me, which Joey Logano won at in 2022. So I'm starting with Joey Logano. I got 10-1 over on FanDuel. I would bet Joey Logano down to 9-1. I know it's available on BetMGM, so that's what I'm going to use here. But bet down to 9-1 for Joey Logano to win the Clash before we hit the track on Saturday. Next up, I'm going with Kyle Larson. This is a new decision. This is my final outright that I've posted on my Dub Club. I actually gave this one out for free on Twitter as well. But Kyle Larson, when I look at the footage, I look at the data, I've got 10 short track races from 2024. And I say short track, but as I said a minute ago, tracks that exemplify short, flat characteristics. And I threw Bristol in there too because it is a short track. Iowa is kind of flat, a little bit banked, but I threw those in there as well on the sample size that I'm about to give you. In 7 of these 10 races between Bristol, Iowa, New Hampshire, Phoenix, Martinsville, Richmond, Kyle Larson finished in the top 5 in 7 of those. And you got to look at how good his car was at Iowa, where he got crashed after getting cycled back in pit strategy. He had the car to beat that day. He was fantastic at Phoenix in the fall, fantastic at Martinsville, both races, fantastic at Richmond Spring. When you look at the progression, especially from 2022, crew chief Cliff Daniels, driver Kyle Larson have improved their game on the short tracks. And I didn't even mention Bristol, where they absolutely smoked the field in fall of 2024. But I'm more focused on the shorter flat tracks, and Kyle Larson had a couple good runs at the Coliseum behind me. Didn't get to victory lane, but had speed and got better, especially in 2024 as the years went on and we got more track time at this one behind me. And Kyle Larson has run at Bowman Gray before. Whether or not you want to take, put a lot of stock into that, that's up to you. But I do think some track time matters a little bit. And for Kyle Larson, we know the car is going to be good. I think the driver is going to be good. And I got him at 9-1 over on BetMGM. I would bet down to 8-1 if available. Third up on my 5 outrights, Ryan Blaney. Look, Team Penske's been fantastic on short, flat racetracks, especially in the Gen 7 era. They've won 3 championships in a row at Phoenix. Ryan Blaney's won 2 years in a row fall of Martinsville to clinch a spot in that championship. He ran second to Joey Logano at Phoenix. He had a good clash last year running in the top 5. But when I look at Ryan Blaney, I'm more focused on the car. The car with Team Penske is just so good at these track types. I think you should have Ryan Blaney in your betting card. I bet earlier in the week over on ESPN Bet at 12-1. 11-1 is available on FanDuel Sportsbook. I would bet down to 10-1 for Ryan Blaney for the Cookout Clash. Next up, and for sure my riskiest outright, is Kyle Busch. I got 16-1 over on BetMGM. I'd bet down to 14-1, which is still available at the time of me recording over on BetMGM. And it is my riskiest because you consider RCR and how poorly they have performed at short tracks since the beginning of 2022. But Kyle Busch has 3 consecutive podiums in the Clash race, all 3 of which were held right behind me. No wins, but when you're finishing second and third, you've got speed and you're in the conversation. So we talk about Austin Dillon coming out of nowhere, being the car to beat at Richmond. Kyle Busch has won at Gateway in the Gen 7 era, which has some short track characteristics. A lot of inconsistency there overall. I wouldn't place a lot of money on this one, but I am going to bet on Kyle Busch because of what he's done at the most similar track comparison, which is the LA Coliseum behind me, with 3 straight top 3 finishes. I got 16-1 earlier in the week. If you subscribe on Dub Club, you saw that as I posted. But 14-1 I think is available on BetMGM, and I think is appropriate as long as you don't go crazy for KFB to win the Cookout Clash on Sunday night. And my 5th and final outright is Josh Berry. New team, new place, new face in a new place, driving for the Wood Brothers, which has a Penske alliance. As far as I know, I think there were some rumblings about them switching to an RFK alliance. As far as I know, this team, the Wood Brothers, has an alliance with Team Penske, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney. So when you consider Josh Berry's expertise at short tracks, which is what helped him get into the NASCAR Cup Series with a shocking win at Martinsville in the Xfinity Series back in 2021, you got to consider that the car is going to be good. The driver's good at this particular track type. And you look at 2024, when he took over that 4 car for Stewart-Haas Racing, a lot of inconsistent performance. He had a lot of rookie mistakes. I know he's a little bit older, but he had a lot of rookie mistakes. He was a rookie in 2024. And if you really looked at or watched most of the races or all the races in 2024, some of his best performances and opportunities to win were at short track. So I'm going to trust the skill set. I'm going to trust the full year under his belt. And I'm going to trust Josh Berry at 40-1 to win the Cookout Clash at the Coliseum. Small unit, small bet, $5, $10, $15, whatever. Take Josh Berry. And one more piece of advice before you do bet: 35-1 is the best I see, but if you consider house rules, betting rules, I'm going to attach an article by Greg Mathern over at Win the Race that tells you about what sports books consider action for NASCAR races, especially when it comes to races like we're going to see this weekend with heats. Essentially, if you're kind of confused with what I'm talking about, DraftKings Sportsbook's rules are: bets will void if the driver does not start the race. So essentially, if you bet on an underdog, let's like a Josh Berry, and he doesn't make the race, according to DraftKings Sportsbook's rule book, you will get your money back. The bet will void. Other books like BetMGM, like BetRivers, do the exact opposite. They consider the car hitting the track, the car qualifying, is action. So good information to know. I'm attaching that article below where they break down specific house rules in the event of a driver not making the main event. I've got two more bets for you here. Two driver props. DraftKings today, Friday, January 29th, added manufacturer props, top Chevy, top Ford, top Toyota, and you got to bet Bubba Wallace and Ty Gibbs top Toyota. Remember, there are less Toyotas in the field by a mile than there are Chevys and Fords. When you look at the top Toyota under race props on DraftKings Sportsbook, we're only talking about 9 Toyotas in the entire race. So Ty Gibbs at 5-1, Bubba Wallace at 11-1, I think are awesome bets to win the Toyota prop. We've got Denny Hamlin as a massive favorite here at plus 260. But when you look at Denny Hamlin, old guys at new tracks typically does not go well. This is a brand new racetrack for Denny Hamlin. He has never raced here before. I know he's a short track expert, but I think, and I could bite my words here because I did bet on Hamlin last year and he did win the Clash, but I think Denny Hamlin is a little overvalued when you consider his age. He's got a brand new crew chief and it's a brand new racetrack. These three factors typically don't end well for a guy like Denny Hamlin. So give me the youth and Ty Gibbs. Give me Bubba Wallace, who has run at Bowman Gray before. Bubba Wallace has been sneaky good on short tracks in the Gen 7 era and sneaky good at this track behind me. Didn't always get the finishes, had some bad luck, involved in accidents, but had speed, and Bubba is an underrated, sneaky short track racer. So one more time, the two driver props over on DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm looking at them right now. I've already bet them. The lines have not moved. Ty Gibbs plus 500, 5-1 to be top Toyota, and Bubba Wallace plus 1100, 11-1 to be top Toyota. Bet them both. I think one of those guys has a fantastic shot of cashing that bet for you on Sunday night. The last piece of advice I could give you here, a couple things. DraftKings has Tim Brown and Burt Myers priced at criminal numbers here. Burt Myers and Tim Brown are essentially track champions at Bowman Gray. They're like two of the most successful drivers at Bowman Gray Stadium over the years. I don't know how many races they've won, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I would not bet on these guys. I would not touch these guys with a fucking penny that I found at the bottom of my toilet. Okay? DraftKings has Burt Myers at 35-1. Are you insane? Are you insane? Other books might have 100-1. That's fine if you want to put $1 on that, whatever. But 35-1 for a guy that is driving for Team Amerivet. Have you ever heard of him? I don't fucking think so. This is a team out of New York. They've got ECR engines, but they've got no help. Every time this team has run, it has just been essentially a 2001 Dodge Durango on track with cup cars. Don't bet on Burt Myers. Don't bet on Tim Brown. Now, Tim Brown's with Rick Ware Racing. We've seen some glimpses of them have speed sometimes, but I just can't trust it. I cannot trust it. If you had to pick one of the track champions at Bowman Gray that are in this race, bet on Tim Brown. But find a book that's got at least 80-1. I wouldn't recommend it in any situation unless you're getting 80 to 1, 100 to 1, and it's fun coupons, right? So I want to give that piece of advice there because some people have been asking about those guys because of their expertise at this particular racetrack. Fade all day long. And my last piece of general advice here is kind of where to lean ahead of or after the heats are done, right? And the way this worked last year with the sports books, when practice begins and the heats begin, all the lines in the sports books will come off. They'll be gone. There will be no lines available to bet on the Clash unless a book makes a mistake, aka FanDuel does that sometimes, mainly with Xfinity and trucks. So keep an eye on that throughout the year. And that's kind of why we love FanDuel. But when we talk about this weekend in particular with Cup, the lines will come off, and after the lineup is set, typically a few hours later, the lines will reload. And typically DraftKings is good about it, BetMGM is good about it, BetRivers is good about it. FanDuel can be very, very inconsistent, but those other three books definitely keep refreshing those to see when lines are going to be reloaded after the field is set for the Clash. I think track position is extremely vital on Sunday night. And when you look even at the track behind me, 3 winners, all 3 of them started first, second, and fourth. All 3 winners at the Clash of the Coliseum started fourth or better. And I don't see that changing this weekend. I think if you want to bet on a driver to win, gotta bet on guys that are starting in the top 5 because it's going to be impossible to pass unless you wreck the shit out of somebody. That's what I think. That's kind of what I have visualized after watching footage of other races at this track. And with this Cup car being a boxy deflecting Lego machine, I don't know how these guys can pass each other without ramming and having glorified bumper cars at Bowman Gray Stadium. So I want to be optimistic about the excitement level and the ability for it to be a competitive race. But for betting purposes, we got to be real here. And if you want to look somewhere to lean, let's just say you don't even subscribe to my Dub Club. You don't want to pay for bets. I totally get it. Absolutely understanding on that front. Bet on drivers that are starting 5th or better, regardless of what you have already. I'm going a little heavy, especially with those 2 driver props that came up, which I did not know DraftKings was going to give props on manufacturers this weekend. But if you want to lean somewhere for heavier unit count plays after qualifying, bet on drivers starting 5th or better. That is the best piece of advice I can give, free advice I can give heading into Sunday. So that's everything I got. I'm linking everything below in the description to help you guys out on some of this general advice, articles, my Dub Club, where all my bets and plays are. Whatever you want to take a look at it. Regardless, if it help you win some money, come back, like, share, subscribe, and thank you for watching. I'm so excited. I'm just so excited that we are here, ready for the 2025 season to start on Sunday night. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's a great race, and I hope it's a profitable race. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoy the weekend. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and thank you for watching Dale Center NASCAR Betting here on YouTube.